On behalf of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, it is my pleasure to welcome the session chief guest, Shri Arvind Kumarji, who is ACS Industries, Uttar Pradesh. I would also like to welcome two very important and eminent speakers, Mr. Michael Rosenthal, Director, North India Office, US Embassy, and Shri Barnik Chitran Mehta, who is CEO, Arthur D. Little, India and Southeast Asia. I also welcome all the participants and guests who are attending this session from all over the world. I must congratulate IACC leadership and secretariat, especially Shri Lalit Bhasin, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Executive Vice President IACC, Mr. Purnachandra Rao, National President IACC, Shri Raman Rao, the Regional President IACC NIC, Mr. Rohit Kochar, Arun Karna, Kashish Tyagi, Regional Director, and Neelu Sadana ji, who all have demonstrated their commitments to bring this conference to a range of important sessions, especially Uttar Pradesh session, which is focusing on Uttar Pradesh and United States ties. There are three very important speakers of this session: Shri Arvind Kumarji, ACS Industry Uttar Pradesh; Mr. Michael Rosenthal, who is representing US Embassy from North India Office; Mr. Barnik Chitran Mehta, who is representing a leading consulting group, Arthur D. Little, operating worldwide. So we would like to highlight here how to deepen the trade and economic relationship between Uttar Pradesh and US. Also, I would request Shri Arvind Kumarji to make a presentation. What is the way forward to this relationship? With the recent launch of Lucknow chapter of IACC, IACC leadership is committed to help Uttar Pradesh government in extending the Indo-US trade relationship with the help of North India Office of US Embassy. So I will first request Mr. Michael Rosenthal to address this session. And Michael, I would request you if you could emphasize how a separate North India office helps the US government increase the ties with UP government. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me okay. Thank you for that introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here. On behalf of the US Mission to India and the North India Office, which, as you noted, leads engagement with Uttar Pradesh and 7 other states and territories, I'm deeply honored to join you all to be part of the IACC's 18th Indo-US Economic Summit, and particularly the session on Uttar Pradesh. It's really an honor to join this panel, including additional Chief Secretary Kumar, who I had the pleasure of meeting a few weeks ago. I know is doing great work on behalf of his state and certainly is helping bringing us together with the United States as well. And if you don't mind, I'd like to start with a few words in Hindi. Namaskar, आज आपके साथ होने की निमंत्रण के लिए धन्यवाद. ये मेरे लिए एक सम्मानजनक बात है. US भारत संबंध इतने अच्छे हैं या जटिलता और प्रभाव में समृद्ध कभी नहीं रहे. हम कई राजनयिक, सुरक्षा, आर्थिक और विकास मददों पर सहयोग करते हैं. कंपनियों और अर्थव्यवस्था को विकसित कराने और समाज में ज्ञान के आदान प्रदान के लिए नए निवेश महत्वपूर्ण है. उत्तर प्रदेश और अमेरिका के लोगों के बीच घनिष्ठ मित्रता है जो इन आर्थिक संबंधों का समर्थन करते हैं. लेकिन मैं अब अंग्रेजी में बोलूंगा क्योंकि ये global business की भाषा है. So back to English. Thank you for your patience with that. So for decades, the IACC has strengthened trade and investment ties between the United States and India. The US Embassy's North India office, which I have the pleasure of leading, has worked with the IACC's North India Council and many leaders over the years to strengthen these ties at the regional levels. IACC officials have been consistently outstanding, establishing a reputation for excellence. Together, we have achieved economic results, and together we have strengthened US-India ties. And we look forward to our continued partnership with the Lucknow branch under the visionary leadership of Mr. Singh, my friend as well, who I had the pleasure of recently joining and opening this Lucknow branch. I think this is a concrete example of the Uttar Pradesh government's success in improving the business environment, of IAC's demonstrated leadership across India to connecting the business community, and to the United States government's ability to be a partner in these enterprises. So it's a real pleasure to have joined and to continue working with the Lucknow branch. So let me tell you why I think Uttar Pradesh is so important for the United States. It starts with the size of the state and its long history of achievement, playing an important role in Indian civilization. Today, Uttar Pradesh is a strong economy powered by innovative firms and talented individuals. It is home to world-class universities and other institutions. It attracts tourists from the United States and all over the world. U.S. connections with Uttar Pradesh have a long history and are incredibly diverse today. Our peoples have visited each other, including to settle as immigrants long before independence. Post-independence, the U.S. government has been a proud partner of a number of projects, as well as with the private sector in Uttar Pradesh, including through IIT Kanpur. Today, there are sister city relationships between the U.S. and UP, including Agra and Tempe, Arizona. Students and professionals have traveled in both directions and have helped increase business ties as well. You may know that several towns in the United States have been named after the UP cities, including Lucknow, Pennsylvania, and Agra, Kansas. Several U.S. national and local politicians have come to UP to expand these business and people-to-people ties, including presidents and governors. We've been proud to see UP officials travel to the United States in the last few years as well to expand business ties in the other direction, and we certainly welcome more investment and trade flowing towards the United States, so it's a mutual cooperation. I should also note that I himself been touched by immigrants from Uttar Pradesh who have been friends of mine in the United States, helping me learn Hindi when I was a diplomat. And so it's really across the United States that we felt the connections with Uttar Pradesh. And this is part of these important ties, part of why my office was set up, as Mr. Singh referenced, the North India office 2015, to help further expand ties between Uttar Pradesh and other states of India with the United States, the same way the US maintains 4 consulates around India with dedicated staff to focus on those regions. Since then, in 2015, we've worked with companies to increase investment and to support official visits and other exchanges with Uttar Pradesh. For example, in 2016, we brought experts from the United States to share best practices with UP counterparts on improving the business climate so that we could learn from each other, and they met with government, business, and civil society groups. And the same year, we organized a trip for UP officials to travel to the United States and share best practices. Today, we're working with a number of US government agencies, including the US Trade and Development Administration, to share best practices, including on aviation. Meanwhile, US firms have increased their presence and investment in Uttar Pradesh, including in IT, as well as in pharmaceuticals, business processing, aviation, electronics. I believe that today, the United States is the top export partner for, or close to it, for Uttar Pradesh. So we've certainly benefited from these types of cooperation. The context, though, for this US-UP cooperation is, of course, the US-India relationship, which today is incredibly strong and has been referred to as our leaders as a comprehensive global strategic partnership. This means, as I said in Hindi, a range of cooperation across diplomatic, security, economic, and development issues, including people-to-people ties, but also very important issues like defense, regional cooperation, the Indo-Pacific, counterterrorism, climate change, and COVID-19. The US and India have been important partners in this shared Indo-Pacific region, and we share a vision of a free, open, secure, prosperous Indo-Pacific region that will benefit both of us. An important pillar of this US-India cooperation has certainly been economic cooperation, including the presence of almost every major US company here in India, many of them in Uttar Pradesh, as well as Indian investment in the United States. US companies have always been involved in contributing to India's economic growth and development, including sharing critical technologies, know-how, and experience, but also learning from important Indian partners and taking advantage of the wonderful people and institutions of India. This shows in the statistics as well, as US-India's trade has grown from about $20 billion in 2001 to over $146 billion in 2019. In 2019, again, 16% of India's total exports were shipped to the United States, making us India's most important overall trading partner. Top US officials have continued, including in the Biden administration, to visit India, including Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin. Special envoy for climate, John Kerry, was just here. And so it's really a broad-ranging relationship across a range of issues, but it's underpinned by people and business ties at the local level, including Uttar Pradesh. We've all been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but the United States and India have also stood with each other to provide assistance, share best practices, and work to expand our economies as we hopefully recover. So on that brighter note, as we look to recover from the COVID-19 crisis and rebuild our economies, I think this is a very important time to take advantage of opportunities for further growth and development, particularly as supply chains might be looking to move from other parts of the world to places like India that would further link the United States and Uttar Pradesh, that would further link us together and take advantage of our unique skills and efficiencies. We believe this can help us return our situations in our respective countries and states to more normal health status, but our economy and everything else that we need for development. So this may not happen naturally, but we think that with the right regulatory framework, which in our experience has been important for trade and investment to flow, with a light and predictable regulatory touch where infrastructure and human capital are strong, our private companies can help us lead the way forward to return to growth and a better life for all of us. So we've been encouraged by the efforts of Prime Minister Modi, Chief Minister Adityanath, and others in India that look to continue India's economic growth and provide a positive environment for foreign investors, including from the United States. And we, the US government, pledge to be our part to be partners for American companies and as appropriate for the Indian state and national governments in this endeavor. So in closing, I would say we have much to look forward to. We're very grateful, and certainly on behalf of the North India office, to continue working with IIC local, the local chapter in Lucknow, the North India Council, and certainly with the Uttar Pradesh government. Thank you again for the chance to join you today.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much. I still remember your address in our Lucknow chapter's launch, where you highlighted the potential of investment in Uttar Pradesh, and you talked about the human capital also of Uttar Pradesh. So we all know that due to honest, strong, committed and dedicated leadership under the leadership of Shri Yogi Adityanath ji and the ministers like Satish Mahana and the industry minister Shri Siddharth Nath Singh ji, UP has been ranked number 2 in ease of doing business. So in this very important session, we have requested Shri Arvind Kumar ji, ACS Industry, IT and Electronics, to make a presentation on how he look forward to bring in investments with the help of IACC, with the help of North India Office, US Embassy, and he will also give a brief about how UP government is going to incentivize and what are the facilities which will be offered by the UP government. So over to Arvind Kumar sir. Shri Arvind Kumar ji.
Thank you, Mukesh ji. Thank you, Michael, for the welcome address, and Bali ji, and participants from India and abroad. We welcome you on behalf of UP. And recently, the US delegation had visited Lucknow, and we have had a chance to interact. As you are aware, the corona has had an impact globally, an adverse impact globally on the economic scenario, and it has become a challenge for all of us, all the governments, to speed up the process of recovery. UP, as you are already aware, has done very well in COVID management. We have improved our medical facilities. Our vaccination pace has been very rapid. And now we are in the process of opening up all the sectors, and there are no curfews anywhere now in this state. Recently, we have fastened the pace of growth. And even in the second wave of corona, in UP, we did an experiment. We kept the industries running, and while the other sectors were closed, the industries were kept running. And as a result of which, at least the industrial growth did not stop, and we could continue providing employment also to a lot of people and simultaneously keeping up the production levels also. So, this, as I mentioned, this has been a challenge for all of us. And to bring up investment, we have had initiated a number of policies also post-COVID, which I'll also come to and mention in greater detail as and when I go through the slides. So let me put up some slides for the benefit of all as to what are the initiatives which we are taking in UP to speed up investments. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this, as Michael has also mentioned, the exports and imports have been growing, and the balance of trade is more or less almost stagnant, and it is reducing between India and the US. The US has been the third largest investor in India, and major sectors of American FDI in India and sectors in which Indian FDI is there in USA have also been identified here in this slide. I will not dwell on this slide much. Next. So these are, as far as the UP is concerned, these are the major areas of exports to USA. As you can see, textile, apparel and clothing is constituting almost about 34% of the exports from UP. 26% contribution is from iron, steel, and aluminum. Then the carpets also takes about 21% of the exports from UP. Furniture and bedding, wooden articles, and electrical machinery parts are also major contributors to exports from Uttar Pradesh, which are already there. Next, please keep on moving the slides. So these are basically the advantages which the UP offers. It is a strategic location, and both strategically and geographically. As Mukesh has also mentioned, UP has improved its business environment, and therefore, in the state rankings which the government of India brings, in the ease of doing business rankings, UP has gone to the second spot in facilitating investments in UP. The law and order scenario in UP has also drastically improved. There is, as Michael also mentioned, there are a number of universities and colleges which offer technical manpower, which is a big strength of UP. And the land bank availability has also been increasing. As you will see from the next slide, UP has put a lot of focus on infrastructure upgradation. There are a number of expressways which are coming up. Shortly, we will be inaugurating the Purvanchal Expressway. We already have 2 expressways running, which are from Delhi to Agra and from Agra to Lucknow. We have also planned the Ganga Expressway, which is a 600-kilometer expressway connecting Meerut to Prayagraj, and we intend to connect further from Prayagraj to Varanasi in the second phase. The bids for this expressway, which is the Ganga Expressway, are already out, and this is a 22,000 crore investment opportunity for people in India and abroad. And this is split into 4 packages. The bids are already on our portal. So anybody who wants to put in the infrastructure sector, this is an opportunity which is available for investment. So the expressways, the emphasis of UP government on expressways is opening up new areas, new land banks along the expressways, and we also are now in the process of expanding our land bank, the availability of land along the expressways, because they offer easier movement of goods across the country. We also are beneficiaries of the government of India. 2 major projects, which is the dedicated freight corridors and the industrial corridors. As you can see, the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor also passes through UP. And similarly, in the Amritsar-Kolkata industrial corridor, the UP also has identified 2 major areas. One is in Agra and other is in Prayagraj, where the land bank is available, and we are coming up with an industrial township there. So the land is not a scarcity as far as the UP is concerned. One of the drawbacks which UP had been facing was that it is a landlocked state. So therefore, for faster movement of goods, now the 2 of the dedicated freight corridors which government of India is pushing and in which UP is cooperating by way of making available land. These are the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor and the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. Now, these are coming up very fast, and these will also open up new opportunities across UP and will make the transition of goods much cheaper from UP to all over the world. We are also beneficiaries of the Government of India's project, which is the National Waterway 1, which connects Prayagraj to the Haldia port. So therefore, through the river route also, we are getting connected to the sea. So all these opportunities which are coming up for investment in the infrastructure sector also, and the UP's emphasis on improving their infrastructure will prove to be a major boon for the investors. We are also coming up with a very big Jewar International Airport, and this will be it will start with a capacity of 12 million passengers per annum, and we intend to take it up to 70 million passengers per annum over a period by 2050. So this airport, again, through the bidding process, we have selected Zurich International Airport Limited. They are the developer for us, and we intend to make this airport operational by 2024. There are a number of other airports also which the government of UP is pushing with the support of the government of India, and we are hopeful the connectivity will improve drastically in UP. So this is one of the big advantages now which is coming up for UP. Next, please. Now, there are warehousing and logistics opportunities which are coming up with this kind of an infrastructure which is coming up. So we are therefore developing multimodal terminal at Varanasi also. And there are multimodal logistics hub which are coming up at Dadri. There is a multimodal transport hub which is coming up at Boraki. Almost 84% land acquisition has taken place there. So as the e-commerce is growing, as the manufacturing is growing in UP, these will be the key opportunities here for the warehousing and logistics infrastructure creation. And so therefore the UP government is pushing that this infrastructure should come up quite fast. Next, please. So as I have already mentioned, in the ease of doing business, we are already second in rank. There are clearances which are available online. Almost all the clearances are now available online. And there are district level also committees which are looking at investor facilitation, etc. Next, please. Recently, we have crossed the figure of 4 lakhs permissions through the online portal. We have a backup of 20 sectoral policies along with an overarching policy of industrial policy 2017, which is still continuing. So all these policy backdrop is available, various incentives are available, which are listed here. I will not go into the details of it. And our help desk will be able to facilitate and give the details to whomsoever is interested, which I will share the details of the help desk also very shortly. Recently, we have also come up with the new policies. I'll dwell on that subsequently in the next slide. Next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned, post-COVID, certain new policies have also been formulated by us. One of the policies which have been taken up very well by the industry is the data center policy. Though we had put up a target of only 250 megawatts capacity, but now there is so much of demand that we are separately coming up with a data center park in Yamuna Expressway with an area of about 100 acres, so that many more people who have shown their interest in setting up of data centers are facilitated and they are able to set up data centers here. So this is a very lucrative policy. I believe no other state in India has come up with a data center policy as yet. And this policy support is available in UP. We have a startup policy 2020 also, which is sector agnostic, and a lot of interest has come in there. Electronics policy 2020 has also been picked up very well, and we have received a number of proposals and we have given already sanctions on a number of proposals. This oxygen production promotion policy was also a result of COVID. And we are already having proposals from Inox and Air Liquide of France to the tune of about 2,100 crores, which are in pipeline, these proposals under the oxygen production promotion policy. Next, please. So these are the various destinations which are available in UP. As I have mentioned, many areas are opening up. And these are specifically for setting up of industries that the land banks are available in these areas. Next, please. As you might have heard in the media, yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister launched the defense corridor in the Aligarh node of the defense corridor. And investments worth about 1,400 crore were grounded yesterday. We have already investors from 19 investors who had put up proposals, whom we had allotted land. And yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister basically sort of laid the foundation laying of all these investments which are coming up on the Aligarh node. We have identified 6 nodes. We intend to pick up about 5,000 hectares of land and make it available for defense manufacturing and production. So this is a huge opportunity which is coming up here. We have a policy support also, defense and aerospace policy, which provides for 24% land subsidy. There is a capital subsidy provision also. And the government of India is also coming up with a policy which will facilitate setting up of technical hubs and common facility centers in these nodes. So the companies which are in this defense and aerospace sector can pick up land chunks here, and the policy support is available. So this is a huge opportunity which is coming up. The MRO complex, as I mentioned earlier, is coming up in the Jewar airport. So this again is an area which we want to develop as a hub in UP. Next, please. In electronics also, as I had mentioned, there is a lot of policy support already available, and we already have companies, various companies in this sector. The policy is still available. Next, please. Electrical vehicles is again an opportunity. We have a policy support there, and we have already declared 10 cities in which electrical mobility is being pushed. A lot of our public transport is being switched over to electrical vehicles. We are setting up charging stations, etc. And here also the policy backup is available with us. Next, please. Textile and leather is another area, as I have mentioned. This is one of our strengths, and so we are increasing the manufacturing base here. We have dedicated parks in Noida, in industrial area. We have dedicated parks, earmarked dedicated parks in Yamuna Expressway also. There is a Noida apparel cluster which is coming up. Next, please. Urban development and logistics is another area, because we have the major chunk of smart cities. So the smart cities, SPVs, they are offering a number of opportunities for investments in ITMS, in housing, in infrastructure, in setting up of command and control centers, etc. The metro rails is also, projects are also coming up in Agra, Kanpur, Meerut and Prayagraj. It is already functional in Lucknow. Next, please. So these are other areas, food processing, and why I was hurrying up was because at 4 p.m. Honorable Chief Minister is inaugurating a PepsiCo plant, which is a US-based company, which has put up an investment of $115.7 million US, and it will be providing employment to 1,500 people. And it will be sourcing about 1.5 lakh tons of potato from about 5,000 farmers whom they have taken as their partners in this agro processing field. And at 4 p.m. today, Honorable Chief Minister will be inaugurating this wonderful state-of-the-art facility. So I just wanted to put it forth before you. Tomorrow, Britannia, which is a known brand in India, is also going to lay the foundation ceremony of a very state-of-the-art plant in Barabanki, which is being put up with an investment of about 350 crores. So there are a number of opportunities available in agricultural and food processing sector, which I want to put forth before you. Education, there are many opportunities in education and skill development, urban industrial area, and startups, as I mentioned already. Next, please. So these, as I have mentioned already, we have got a number of proposals, and from 10 countries, we are already in touch with them. There are a number of investment proposals which have come up, as I mentioned, to the tune of about $9,920 million US proposals is what we are following up with them. A number of investments have come from US. And as I had already mentioned, the defense corridor is providing a large number of opportunities. The NRI cell also is working closely with NRIs so as to facilitate their investments back in their own land. Next, please. So we have set up a specific US-based help desk, and you can note down the email ID ushelpdesk@udyogbandhu.com. And our endeavor is that whosoever wants to, any NRI who wants to come back or any foreign investor who wants to come back, gets the necessary facilitation, gets the necessary approvals, and he doesn't have to run around from pillar to post to get these approvals. So this help desk is a dedicated professional team which provides support, which gives clarity on what the policy means, and which facilitates the completion of all the formalities. This we have created on the lines of Invest India also, which you already are aware of. Next, please. So these are a few names. As I mentioned, PepsiCo, Mac Software is coming up with a software development center in Noida. Microsoft is already putting up an investment of about 1,800 crore, and we are also working closely with them. And there are a number of other US famous names and brands which are already available and which have their footprints in UP. So with this, I rest my case here, and these are the email IDs, further email IDs also, in which you can get connected with us. Thank you, Mukesh, and thank you, Michael, for giving me this opportunity to showcase UP. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You have very well described all the key opportunities, all the key sectors, whether it was about the dedicated freight corridor or about the sectoral development. You have very well described. Thank you so much. I know you have to go to Chief Minister, sir, for the inauguration ceremony. So you can leave, sir. The other officers are here. Now, I would request Mr. Barnik, since you had the world-class consulting group, and I must also appreciate E&Y also, who is making instrumental to the UP government to all these policy frameworks. Thank you, E&Y. Now I request Mr. Barnik to throw some light how, as a consulting head, how you would like to take these suggestions way forward, and also as a chamber we would like to take up all these policy frameworks with the North India office of US Embassy with Mr. Michael. Now Mr. Muthuswamy sir has joined this session. Thank you, Muthuswamy sir. Over to Mr. Barnik.
Hi, can you hear me? Mukesh
Yes,
ji?
we can. Yes, we can.
Sorry, actually my power conked off, so I'm just
Okay.
using mobile. So if you can hear me, I'll get started.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so I think it's a very enlightening session by the Honorable ACS, and it throws a lot of light on the potential of UP. I just want to start with an anecdote that we, as Arthur Little, the oldest management consulting firm in India and also around the world, actually opened our first state office in Uttar Pradesh in Lucknow last year in October. I think we'll be celebrating our 1-year anniversary next month, and it's because we really believe in the potential of the state, right? For us, it is impossible to imagine an India without UP. UP for us is unlimited potential and unexplored possibilities. Obviously, there have been some historical challenges, but there have been good actions taken by the state to actually advance the entire cause for economic development. One of the most interesting things about Uttar Pradesh is that nearly 1/5 of India's population, a little under 1/5 of India's population lives in Uttar Pradesh, but the GDP contribution of Uttar Pradesh to India's GDP is a little less than 10%, which just suggests that there is a lot of room for Uttar Pradesh to contribute to India. If you look at the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of a $5 trillion economy and his speeches about Atmanirbhar Bharat, I don't think any of that will become a reality unless you have Uttar Pradesh really punching at its weight, right? Which is around a $1 trillion economy, which the Chief Minister has also spoken about. I would also like to acknowledge that the current Uttar Pradesh government has actually done a great job in doing a few things like reducing the rate of crime, creating new infrastructure, which the ACS spoke about. In addition to that, we've also seen transformations happening in agriculture, where I think the most successful soil health card program in India is being run out of Uttar Pradesh. There has been creation of several medical colleges and other educational infrastructure, which is very important. And a lot of the infrastructure projects which the ACS have spoken about are actually now coming close to fruition, right? So which is, I think, a very positive development for Uttar Pradesh. So where can the entire UP-US corridor actually help Uttar Pradesh, and how can we help drive some of these things? Let's start first with, I think, brand positioning and positive perception, right? It is a fact that today UP is one of the safest states in India. It is safe for expats. It is actually number 2 in terms of ease of doing business, but that perception is not fully well entrenched with the investors, particularly investors who don't follow India on a day-to-day basis. I think there is an opportunity for Uttar Pradesh to drive a positive campaign about brand repositioning, and I think the the US Embassy and Indo-American Chamber can actually help in some of these efforts, because I think there is still a little bit of gap versus what the state is today versus what people perceive the state to be. Secondly, we believe that there are some priority sectors which need a lot of FDI, right? These sectors include some of the traditional sectors which have been spoken about, but let's talk about food processing, right? Where already some investments have come, but we see a lot of potential in agro processing as well. If you look at UP and the climatic conditions, UP, particularly Bundelkhand, can be like the Israel of India in terms of citrus fruits. We ourselves are working with HOFED and the Ministry of Agriculture to do some farmer training programs. And we see a lot of potential for attracting external expertise, technology, and investors to really capture some of these opportunities in areas like agriculture. Second, I think we've spoken a lot about manufacturing. I think electronics, defense, I think are big areas for India to build on. I think Uttar Pradesh can play a role in that. And I think even there, a sustained effort to attract US investors who are willing to come to India and set up manufacturing facilities is important. In fact, the world now has moved to a different supply chain philosophy, which is called the China Plus One philosophy. COVID-19 has taught everyone that you cannot only depend on North Asia for your supply chain, and India can be a good alternative for any global multinational who's looking to manufacture things outside China, and India can be positioned as that. Right now, I think unfortunately over the last few years, out of the 60 factories which have moved out of China, India may have got only 3 or 4, but I think the new policies, the new PLI schemes, right, and sector-specific policies, both at the center and the state, will enable some of these things. So that's the second area. I think without manufacturing, I think it's very hard to believe that you can achieve a growth. Third, I believe that we should continue the emphasis on infrastructure. Infrastructure is very important, and when we mean infrastructure, it's next generation infrastructure. It's infrastructure to support electric vehicle rollout. It's infrastructure to support charging infrastructure. It's again infrastructure to enable broad-based development of the state, right? If you look at the state demographic, it like the famous Charles Dickens novel, it's a tale of two halves or a tale of two cities. I think Western UP has been more fortunate to attract more investments and development. I think given the impetus of the Chief Minister Yogi Ji, there is an opportunity to develop industrial corridors in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh as well. And some of the infrastructure projects which the ACS spoke about will help in some of that. But again, there should be no lack of focus on infrastructure. Infrastructure helps. I think they're given what's already happened. I think tourism can again be a huge sector to create jobs and to create the next level of infrastructure. I think with the Ram temple coming up in Ayodhya, there's a possibility to completely convert Ayodhya into one of the biggest tourist destinations globally. We've spoken about the fact that we can actually position Ayodhya as the Vatican of the East, right? This would need investors, this would need investments in creating new infrastructure, creating what we call multi-day circuits or tourism circuits, where people come into a part of the state, spend 6-7 days there, actually spend money on the state and the local ecosystem, and this creates jobs. Finally, I would be remiss to say that MSMEs are a very important component of the economy. Uttar Pradesh's MSMEs have some challenges. I think there's a lot of measures in place for ensuring that there's more international market access, exports, access to financing options. And there, I think there's again a huge potential to drive MSMEs in particular areas which are interesting, like textiles, handicraft, and giving impetus to things like the One District, One Program, One Product program would help. So where can ultimately the US government help? I think there are 2 or 3 broad areas, and I'll just conclude my speech with these 3 points. I think one, in general, I think the Indo-American Chamber and US associations can help in branding Uttar Pradesh far better and actually realizing far more investments. I think though there are notable investments which have been declared, Uttar Pradesh should be number 1 or number 2 state in India attracting investments. If you're number 2 in ease of doing business, you should also be number 2 in attracting investments. I don't think Uttar Pradesh today is number in the top 2 or 3, but that suggests that there is an opportunity. There is a huge push towards enabling skill development and creating an employable workforce. And I think there we can leverage technology and expertise from external parties to help create a workforce for the future. There's a lot of good policies like Startup India, electronics manufacturing, but if you don't have a workforce which is capable to deliver, that will be a challenge. And finally, I think policy consistency, continued reform, continued push on infrastructure, which is being driven, needs to continue and needs to accelerate. And infrastructure which needs to be built has to be for the future. So again, I want to conclude by saying, I think we've been delighted to be in Uttar Pradesh for the last 1 year. We are working with several investors who have a corpus of close to $1 billion to $2 billion who are looking at Uttar Pradesh seriously. We are in discussions in several sectors, core infrastructure, new sectors, where we believe that investments can be got. And we believe that the infrastructure investments and other investments need to come in cities outside Noida and Lucknow, whether it be new cities like Ayodhya or in Eastern UP. And we'll be delighted to continue to work with the local government as well as the chambers to realize investments and take UP's economic development trajectory to the next level and contribute to the 5 trillion vision of the Prime Minister. Thanks again, Mukeshji, for the opportunity to speak, and happy to answer any questions that people have.
Thank you, Mr. Barnik. I would like to conclude with final remarks from Muthuswamy sir, and also I would request Michael to give his final comment. Muthuswamy sir, would you like to conclude the session and with the final remarks of Mr. Michael? In 1 or 2 minutes, we'll conclude the session.
Thank you, Mr. Mukesh. It gives me immense pleasure to interact with you again. And as already our ICSR said, Uttar Pradesh has a lot of potential for the investment in various sectors. So I would like to invite all the investors from USA and our team in Invest UP is having a separate exclusive help desk for US investors. We are continuously working closely with US Embassy, and I would like to convey my sincere thanks to Mr. Michael, who has visited here some time back and had a very good opportunity to interact with the US team. And once again, I would like to invite every investor to UP, and we are very much welcoming them, and we will facilitate and cooperate in each and every aspect of their investment proposals. Nivesh Mitra portal is very much and very well equipped, and it handles everything except 1 or 2 permissions. All other no objection certificates and permissions, everything will be facilitated by Nivesh Mitra portal. With this remark, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you very much, Mr. Mukesh and Mr. Michael.
Thank you, sir. Final comment from Mr. Michael, and then we conclude this session.
Thank you, Mukesh. Thank you to everyone for joining. It's been a great session. I've learned a lot, as always. I think there's so much opportunity in Uttar Pradesh. There's already been great progress made on the ground, important investments by US and other companies. But as we heard today, there's a lot more potential. And we from the North India office of the US Embassy look forward to being an important partner on that journey forward. So thank you again, Mukesh. It's great to see you. And thank you for keeping up your work there in Lucknow on behalf of the ICC. It's a wonderful organization. I'm really pleased to see the Lucknow chapter in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. Thank you, Muthuswamy sir. Thank you, Mr. Barnik. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, E&Y. Thank you so much. Namaskar.